Welcome to the Advanced Sports Analytics Show here on Rotogrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, aka Blender HD, aka hopefully this week on top of you on the GPP leaderboards. It wasn't this past weekend. I didn't play any Derrick Henry, so I died. Join with me, as always, the man behind the model at Advanced Sports Analytics. It's Stewart Gibson. Stewart, did you play Derrick Henry?
No, I got trucked pretty hard in tournaments last week. Obviously not playing Derrick Henry hurt, playing a lot of Russ Wilson hurt. I played a lot of Michael Gallup that hurt. I played a lot of David Montgomery, so I got off to like a great start, and I was just like, wow, it's gonna be one of those weeks, and then pretty much nothing happened from there. But
I mean, we have a very similar week where Derrick Henry is going to be running back chalk, and I'm going to be like just mathematically, it's one of those things that yes, I get it. Derrick Henry, great matchup, great projection. It's not like he doesn't project well, but when you're the highest owned running back and you're over 9K and you're relying very heavily on touchdowns to reach your ceiling, like mathematically. Like, I'm going to win more money in the long run by not playing him than by playing him in a lineup, especially since your Derrick Henry lineups are going to tend to look like other Derrick Henry lineups. So it's not a matter of like not liking Derrick Henry, because I'm going to say that this week also, right? With the Titans, with one of the highest implied team totals, and Derrick Henry being the highest projected owned player. I'm gonna see if I could dodge it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think similar case with him. I think also this week there is a interesting number of like efficiently priced, potentially popular running backs, many of which are in quite good game environments, who are in these committees that we think we have a lot of confidence in kind of how that committee shapes out. Well, I guess we'll get to these guys when we do, but I think it's going to be an interesting week to kind of pay attention to how ownership projects for some of these, committee leading running backs. Some of them are in committees that over the course of the year have been unstable in the past, and they're obviously in great spots if they retain that kind of RB1 lead committee role. But if they're going to be super popular, within the field. And there is, not full stability in those committees. I'd be interested to kind of hear your thoughts around that. But I do see some of these running backs kind of having super bimodal distributions, right? Like, Cam Akers, for example, if he is RB1, which kind of we expect him to be because he has been over the past couple of weeks, right? Like great distribution, but there, is this chance that, some of these guys might not retain the role they have in the last week. Some of these teams have been very volatile week over week with how they chop up carries. And, if there's going to be super high ownership on some of these bimodal players where if they retain the role, they have a nice distribution. But if there's some kind of change in role or maybe game script that, severely alters the way teams chop up, opportunity among running backs, I do wonder if it might be a chance to be under on some of these guys who, if 20, 30% of the field is going to play a guy who we think is RB1, but has, a 10 to 30, 40% chance of not being that RB1, I do wonder if there's an opportunity to be kind of under on some of these guys.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor is the other one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor and Akers to me seem to be in kind of the most volatile role week over week. But I mean, you could make a case that CEH and Dobbins both have seemingly RB1 status, but like that, we've seen that kind of flip flop year over, or week over week over the course of this year. So, yeah, I mean, similar to how you kind of talk about how Henry is a guy where you just let ownership dictate kind of how you treat him. I do wonder if there's going to be, reason to maybe treat some of these other running backs similarly. So
right, and a lot of our own analysts at RG have their opinions, and you could find their premium content behind the paywall, most of it. And we now have new packages here at Rotogrinders. You could pay just for a sport, or you could pay for the combo for everything. It's all you can eat. You get the main sports. You also get I play soccer DFS. and we have some of the best soccer projections. So PSU and Fear My Turtle, Varncast in college basketball. We got MMA content with H3 Buddha, and like it's all in one. So like if NBA season is coming up, if you just want to play NBA, like there you go. You can pay for NBA. You get all the NBA content, lineup HQ, all the projections, the ownership, and everything. But if you want to play other sports, you want to add anything else, everything together, it's one combo premium package. You can get $10 off your first month by clicking on the link in the description of the YouTube video of the show. Feel free to hit the thumbs up button also while you're there. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit whatever you want. Doesn't matter. But on this slate, I mean, to me, this slate, Stewart, is a typical for this year. Like we got high totals, but not exorbitantly high totals, and we got low totals. Some of them are a little exorbitantly low, but we don't have like one game that's like a 56. We don't have one game that's out and above everything else. We kind of got 51s, 50s, some 48s and 49s. So I don't necessarily expect ownership on stacks to be as condensed as there's like one game that you have to have. So to start with our analysis, let's go to the highest total, which is it's in flux because we don't know the status of Matt Stafford. But in most books, that this line is opened up as a 51.5. It's the Titans at the line. It's the Lions at the Titans. It's a 11-point spread in favor of the Titans. So they have like a 31.5 implied team total. The Titans have a 20.5 implied team total. Obviously, just like we said, Derrick Henry most likely going to be the highest owned player on the slate, let alone just at the running back position. If Stafford does not play, we'll have Chase Daniel, who's not necessarily known as the one that could really push the ball down the field. Based on like just simple game theory, you would think that with a 31.5 total that, and Henry being like chalk, that, I mean, looking at like Corey Davis or AJ Brown and a Tannehill stack, like to me, that makes the most sense if you're going to try to get the maximum amount of leverage, and the Titans still put up 30 plus points.
Yeah, I think going Davis or Brown probably would. Well, I mean, yes, Davis plus Brown, I think would maximize leverage against Henry. I'm just not so sure you're getting great like correlation properties with Brown and Davis. Historically, they haven't shown the ability to kind of get there consistently in the same game. So maybe picking one or the other might be kind of a happy medium of leverage, but not, overextending on kind of negative correlation.
Because that's what I would be thinking of on a slate where we have enough high totals. I'm more thinking my construction for large field GPPs is going to be skinny stack style. The only opportunity I'm going to have to throw in a second pass catcher is probably like a cheap tight end.
Yeah.
Because the tight, like if you don't pay up for Kelsey, like the tight end position doesn't matter as much. So yeah, right. If I could play some Jonnu Smith in a Tannehill stack with either Brown or Davis. But do you think that another way to attack this game is to play the chalk Derrick Henry, but play it from the Detroit side? Because, I mean, from a projection standpoint, these Lions, I mean, like kind of like all the receivers are priced up. I mean, with Golladay probably not coming back, priced up in a way that they seem to be more efficient if Stafford was the quarterback. But once you play, Chase Daniel there, like I just think a lot of the lines are overpriced.
Yeah, I mean, you would kind of, I think, want to see Stafford back in that. So in our simulation, we have Detroit as a 1% chance of scoring the most points. So I think to me, and that's tied closely to that low total that you mentioned. To me, that's indicative of a no Stafford play. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot to pay for a team that just got such a low total. But maybe if Stafford gets ruled in, you see that total creep back up. I do think that could be an option. You know,
Because I mean, even for the run backs, I mean, I almost feel like if I make a Tannehill stack, that I'm like overpaying for Marvin Jones,
yeah,
or even overpaying for TJ Hawkinson, like at 5,200. Like, am I getting enough out of the correlation where I'd rather either have a 3K tight end or just pay up for Kelsey.
yeah. They are pretty expensive on the Detroit side, and like even DeAndre Swift is priced up. You know, I think he could be a viable bring back. So I mean, I'm curious to just pick your brain on the idea of a Tannehill, Henry plus Brown stack. I'm afraid it's like preventatively expensive this week, but you know, I've been as part of kind of my prep for the show, I'm looking through correlations and kind of combinations of players and how they work together. And you know, we're coming off just another week here where both Brown and Henry kind of got there in the same game. Henry's price has come up such that you know, I think it would appear kind of the maximum ceiling you could hope from at least the combination of Brown and Henry is only about 4x their salary. But I did kind of pose the question on our Twitter account this morning. I am very interested and not sure that I have a strong opinion one way or the other, but it's been pretty perplexing. I think we talked about it a bit on Pete Overzet's show a week or so ago. I mean, the correlation between Brown and Henry has been surprisingly positive, and that has held for a while now. You know, is there any viability to, you know, going just all in on really kind of the three, you know, shiniest pieces on Tennessee? Is there, you know, reason to believe that kind of all three of these guys can get here in the same game, even though their positions don't really align with how we think of players correlating with one another?
Well, I don't think they correlate to volume, though. I mean, when we're dealing with the NFL, we're dealing with very small sample sizes. And if we see in the games where Henry and Brown go off at the same time, it's not due to volume. Like, it's not a volume thing. It's a Henry broke a 70-yard run and AJ Brown broke a 60-yard pass. So do I really, to me, those plays are high variance. Like those things that I can't predict. I can't predict David Montgomery going off for an 80-yard run and then doing nothing else. Like you almost have to use volume to some extent where, yes, although we've seen 2 or 3 occasions where 2 big plays happen between both of those players, do I want to do that when Derrick Henry is chalk? Like, do I want to have to rely on, I mean, I'd much rather play one of Davis or Brown, hope Henry has, like, they could be correlated from a median standpoint, right? Henry gets 24, AJ Brown gets 22, and like, yeah, they would be correlated, I guess, but not to like a true ceiling. So like, I just don't want to have to rely on the fact that it's not like they got there. It's not like it's guys like Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, where it's like, okay, like if Herbert passes 50 times, like Allen can catch 14 balls and Eckler can get 16 balls. And it's like, okay, based on volume, I could get there, but not like on big. AJ Brown's not getting double-digit targets. So I mean, like, I just have to rely on big plays, and to me, I think that's very noisy. I mean, what am I saying? Something statistically that wouldn't conceptually be accurate?
No, I think you're right. I mean, they do have competitive, I guess, volume in a way that perhaps is negatively correlated. It's just interesting to me that over the past, you know, year or so, they have seemed to sync their efficiency spikes, you know, in weeks, in similar weeks. And you know, I mean, I think like scoring is a function of volume, but also efficiency. And it's been interesting. And I haven't, like, to be honest, I haven't developed a strong kind of opinion one way or the other. But it's just surprising to me that there have been kind of numerous instances of both these guys putting up ceiling performances in the same game. You know, could just be noise that they are. Right, like, you know, guys hit efficiency ceiling games in a somewhat noisy fashion. It has been interesting, I guess, that their efficiencies have been kind of syncing up with one another. I
Yeah,
do.
but I'm hoping people think that, and then I don't play it.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people do you think are gonna go Tannehill, Brown, Henry? I can't imagine many, no?
Well, I mean, with the highest implied total, I mean, I think it happens more. I can't see playing a chalk piece like that. I just
Yeah.
like I mean, it really comes down if you told me that Henry was going to be 8% owned, I'd be more inclined to go along with that type of lineup construction. I mean, I'm not a big fan of doing that, even if he was like that. But it just do I want to have to rely on the Titans to put up 6 touchdowns this game in order to get there? Like I just rather bet against it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess really what it comes down is like, right, if the Titans as a team hit this 6 touchdown ceiling at the price point of Brown and Henry, like it doesn't get you 5x, right? It gets you, 4x, I guess, given
Right,
that.
their prices. Like if Henry was 7,800 and AJ Brown was 6,200, it would be a different story. Now, I mean, now you're saving 3,000 in total, and yeah, now they could get there more often for those prices. And I
Mhm.
think we have to talk very similarly about the next game, which is the Chiefs at the Saints in the Superdome. It's 51 and a half total. The Chiefs are favored by 3. The Chiefs have a 27.25 implied team total. The Saints have a 24.25 implied team total. From what I could gather, Taysom Hill probably starts this game, but Drew Brees is coming off the IR, so we're not really sure. It's Thursday. News will come out on what we're more sure about. But we're not used to. It's kind of weird to say. We're not used to the Chiefs having such a low implied total at 27.25. We've been playing Chiefs when they're 30 plus implied total. And now Kelsey's 8,000 and Tyreek Hill is 8,800 and Patrick Mahomes is 7,900. Would I be wrong to say that now at these prices, based on this implied team total, that the Chiefs aren't necessarily good plays this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think similar to, discussion around Henry Brown. It's just preventatively high in pricing and, maybe makes sense in like a super small tournament where, you don't need, 200 plus points or whatever to win the tournament. But as far as like large field or even kind of medium field tournaments, like, yeah, I mean, you just need so much out of Kansas City for Mahomes plus Hill plus Kelsey to
But
pay.
even if you put in, let's say you put in Watkins instead of Hill, I mean, you're still paying a lot. I mean, the stack still costs a lot. I understand the only exemption for this to me is Travis Kelsey, because yes, he's 8,000, but he's also at the weakest position
Yeah.
that like he can put up a score that like no one else can at that position, similar to what we saw the past weeks with Waller when he puts up 48. Like he crushes. Like you need to have him. There's not because you have to roster a tight end, and he beats everyone by 28 points. So like to me, I could see Kelsey as a one-off, but once you start adding Mahomes at 7,900, like I guess you can make a Watkins Kelsey type of stack, but I think that although based on our initial ownerships, Jamino's hamster wheel, the Chiefs are coming in lower than usual, but they're still being owned enough that do I really want to play the Chiefs with a 27 implied total at these prices? And when they're like efficiently owned, like it's
Yeah.
not like no one's not looking at this game. People are looking at this game.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, probably not. I think really the case to be made is just purely that these guys have a known ceiling that few teams can compete with. But you're right at the ownership and yeah. I mean, it's just like we've been interested in Chiefs when they are the highest total on the slate. Now they're I don't know, just kind of outside the top 5 even. So I think it's an interesting state. Like the teams at the top of the Vegas totals are not kind of our usual usual suspects, right? Like we're so used to, at least this year, some combination of Kansas City, Green Bay, Seattle, Indianapolis is always kind of sprinkled in there. And yeah, we got some new some different teams towards the top and some of the teams that have historically been super strong teams, great ceilings. typically high totals are kind of now towards the middle. So be interesting to see how, people kind of handle that this week.
I prefer this game from the other side. Like Taysom Hill, 6K, plus Michael Thomas, 7,200. And then you play Kelsey as the run back and do 2+1 that way. And I think it's more likely that the Saints tend to play slower, but the Chiefs play fast and they throw the ball a lot. So to me, like if I'm gonna stack this game, it feels like I'm saving salary by doing it from the Saints side, and the Saints have a strong enough implied total, and Taysom Hill has enough rushing upside that like the double stack I don't have to worry about. Like, let me just get Taysom Hill rushing the ball in twice and then throwing 2 touchdowns to Michael Thomas. And Kelsey, hey, he has 2 touchdowns and 120 yards. And like, that's the better way to go from a point per dollar standpoint than taking Mahomes for 1,900 more or playing Tyreek Hill at 8,800.
Yeah. And I think like there's also, good options for like a Kelsey, Kamara is kind of, at least in 1 week, was back to his old ways as far as, getting lots of work through the pass game. I think there's opportunity to do some kind of mini correlations there, Kelsey Kamara, Kelsey Thomas, stuff like that. Do have concerns about kind of Hill's ceiling. At least so far, he hasn't shown the ability to put up like big, scoring games. But yeah.
Okay, next game on the docket, 51 total. It's the Texans at the Colts. The Colts are favored by 7.5. They have a 29.25 implied team total. Texans 21.75 implied total. As always, every week when we talk about the Colts, a lot of options. Jonathan Taylor is picking up ownership, but I mean, for a team that's playing in the dome against the Texans defense, which sucks pretty much, Philip Rivers is 5,900. I mean, Hilton is now priced up to 5,500, but there's still a negative bias towards him, even though he's put up 3 good weeks in a row. Michael Pittman's going to be 2% owned according to our projections. Like, why isn't a good leverage point on Jonathan Taylor in that more ambiguous situation to just play a Rivers stack and then, run it back with like a Brandon Cooks if he's back, or UT or something?
Yeah. I feel like in previous weeks, kind of we like Indianapolis as a team, but maybe not so much the players, because it's very blurry as to who kind of the guys we would want are. It does feel like in recent weeks, our focus maybe has been sharpening a little bit. Like,
I almost feel like the Colts are almost easier to predict than the Buccaneers now.
Yeah. No, it does feel that way. I mean, it seems like Burton has kind of been less prominent. Guys like Marcus Johnson, who was previously, having a big air yards role, is kind of become a non-factor. And yeah, it does seem like it's kind of condensing around Hilton, Pittman, and then of course Jonathan Taylor. I do have just concerns about the ceiling of kind of the trio of guys. Like, I don't know, but I feel like sometimes I kind of run into issues like looking at historic ceiling of players and failing to acknowledge that there is a true ceiling of kind of a combination of players that just hasn't yet been achieved. But I mean, so far, just the combination of kind of Hilton, Pittman hasn't really gotten there. Rivers has shown not a super strong ceiling, and I don't know. It feels just like a little bit of an uncomfortable game to try to stack up.
But I mean, you're doing it for the price. I mean, we're not talking about expensive players. We're talking about Rivers at 5,900. We're talking about Hilton at 5,500. We're not talking about Pittman's 4,800. Like this is like to play a cult stack of some type, even if it's just skinny, Rivers plus Hilton or something. Yeah. Like they're cheap enough and low owned enough that like if you wanted to play Derrick Henry in that lineup, like that would make more sense. Like you point per dollar wise from the Colts, you're getting like compared to, I mean, if we take a look at the implied totals on this game, on these games, we have the Titans we got the Titans, the Colts, the Ravens, the Rams. Like it seems like the Colts are 29.25 implied total, but it's cheaper than a Tannehill stack. It's cheaper than Lamar Jackson. It's cheaper than a Goff Woods Cup type of thing. So like if you just go by implied team totals and just hope that the offense gets more condensed, it's not one of those games where they score 5 touchdowns, but one goes to Taylor, one goes to Hines, one goes to Mo Alley Cox, one goes to this guy. Like it's all over the place, which obviously can't happen. But like I'm not scared of rostering Phillip Rivers against the Texans.
Yeah. I guess we kind of just need to see from them a combined performance that just like we haven't yet seen. I mean, so far the max combined fantasy points between like Rivers and Hilton is only 47 fantasy points. Like the max combined total between Pittman Rivers 41. Hilton Pittman have never combined to top 40 points together. So, but that I think I guess the point you're making is that we haven't, like, they're playing the Texans, and because we haven't seen a total that is in excess of some of these like values that they've put up, doesn't mean that it can't happen.
Maybe that's why it does happen now. If it did happen, these prices would be more.
Exactly.
And the ownership would go. I'm only interested primarily in this of a combination of that and the Jonathan Taylor ownership.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's the perfect combination of you're getting a cheaper stack with a higher total team, and it's leverage off of a chalkier running back.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because it's like you can't fully, just given the total, you can't fully kind of fade all players in this game, unless of course you just think the game's going to go massively under. But Vegas would suggest that that's not the case. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. This isn't a game that I've kind of pegged as super high interest, but yeah, they are cheap. So
right, it's the price thing. I mean, typically if this was if Will Fuller was back and the Colts they had Marcus Johnson running routes. I mean, like it was one of those types of games, I'd be with you. But I think that these offenses are a bit more condensed than they have been, and I don't think the field is going to realize that. I think the field will look at the T.Y. Hilton's past 3 weeks and go, it'll be one of those types of things, Stewart, where people will be like, no, it's fluky, right? It's T.Y. Hilton. He's old. He's dust. That can't happen 4 weeks in a row. It's like, why not?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I mean, it's just like, yeah, Hilton has had great games the past 2 weeks, but Rivers has put up, sub 20 games. And it doesn't, like, you would think kind of steady state long run, if Hilton is going to, put up 20 plus point games, eventually, Rivers will, kind of surpass that barrier. It's just so far this year, like he hasn't. They kind of haven't synced up, and it's like if you like Hilton or Pittman a good bit, why not consider just grabbing like them as a mini correlation. Hilton Cooks, Hilton Kuti if Cooks doesn't play, and consider that, right? I guess I just have like major concerns about Rivers in particular, like his ceiling.
Right. No one likes him. I get it. It's a negative bias.
Yeah.
Okay. Next game on the docket. It's Tampa Bay at Atlanta in the dome. It's a 50.5 total. Tampa is favored by 6 now. It's actually moved up. 28.25 implied total. The Falcons with a 22.25 implied total. Obviously, we like teams against the Falcons, but the problem with the Buccaneers is that, like, Brady's fine. Okay, great. I could play some Brady. The question is that who you pair him with? And he could throw to like anyone. I mean, Godwin, Evans, Brown, Gronkowski, Scotty Miller out of the blue. That'll kill you, right? I mean, right there. And then we have the Falcons, and with that low implied total, they almost seem overpriced. Like you're paying $8,200 for Ridley. Most people won't do that. And I think that the chalk in this game is going to be Leonard Fournette with Ronald Jones now on the COVID list. And people are just going to be like, well, Why not play it's a 28 plus total, and it's a running back against the Falcons. And you don't expect LaShawn McCoy or Keyshawn Vaughn to really, they'll be the third down backs, I guess. But I mean, they're pretty much going to give it to Fournette, and at 4,500, like that seems like a good enough value to me. But that also will make like everyone else in this game to be under-owned.
Yeah. Yeah, Tampa Bay is pretty infuriating. Like they always kind of consistently have this high total. They're always, at least recently, have been priced pretty well, but it's yeah, I mean, it's really kind of throwing darts at some of these guys. I don't know, it's too bad because I do, if we have more confidence in some of these receivers, like I like something like Brady Evans, Brady Godwin, and then bring back like Ridley or Gage. But, there's just so little confidence that if Brady has a big game, it's going to come through any one of these guys. I think that makes it tough for even trying to play the Atlanta side if you do want to bring someone back. I mean, well, I guess you could do something like Fournette and then bring back an Atlanta guy, but yeah, it's a low total. This isn't really one of the games that has intrigued me.
Matt Ryan is cheap. He's 5,400.
Yeah, I know. And he hasn't, at least lately, hasn't shown the ability to like prove Draftkings wrong in that pricing.
Right, but we've seen in the past. I mean, it's not like Matt Ryan's a new quarterback. Matt Ryan used to have a prop of 300 yards like every game. And especially against the Buccaneers, they have a good run defense. Why can't it be that? Why can't it be that Tampa Bay goes up big in this game, 2 touchdowns through Leonard Fournette, and you play the stack of Ryan plus Ridley and Fournette is the guy. You don't have to worry about the receivers on the Buccaneers. And just like I just hope Fournette falls in the end zone twice. And to me, that mitigates his ownership. Like then it's okay. No, well, I can play Fournette and then play 2% own Ridley and 3% own Ryan around him. That's correlative. So I don't have to worry about Fournette's ownership.
Yeah, no, that seems to make sense. I mean, I kind of like that approach last week with like Rojo and the Minnesota side. And it's kind of a similar build, right? It's just like, the hardest part of Tampa Bay to pin down is their receivers. Even though you think, maybe the kind of touchdowns are more likely to come through Brady plus some receiver, you just don't know who it's going to be. So like, you maybe take the lesser of kind of two halves, because you have higher confidence in, what that lesser of two halves will come through.
Right, because Brady could put up a 300-yard game with 3 passing touchdowns, and Brady doesn't end up being QB1, and it's a touchdown to each of the receivers, and all those receivers have sub 20 points, and it's like you didn't need any of that. But Fournette at 4,500, like if Fournette gets 80 yards, 2 catches for 10 yards, and 2 touchdowns, or he's great. I mean, 1 touchdown even, right? If he's sitting there 4,500 with 18 to 20 points, like you're good. Like 18 to 20 points ain't going to cut it for these 6K wide receivers.
Yeah. No, I like that approach. And I don't know, to be honest, like Gage is a guy I'd be willing to double stack with Ridley and Ryan. I think like he's cheap enough where, a double stack could be viable.
Well, you play Hurst, if anything. You play the tight end.
Yeah, I think that does make sense as well.
Right. I mean, you just want to. You can't really do that. I mean, I'm Brady, Godwin, Gronkowski. It's the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
it's like it's ridiculous.
Brate even factors in a non-zero way. It really is. It's pretty frustrating because
right. It's like Brady is trying to stuff their stockings full of points, and it's never in the same. It's never in the same stocking. But if you're looking for the ultimate stocking stuffer for this holiday season, look no further, because our sponsors, Manscaped, have the tools to make you win this year's stocking stuffer or white elephant competition, which I have no idea what that is. Stewart, what's a white elephant competition?
I'm not familiar with it in the form of a competition. It is a gift giving tradition around Christmas time where there's.
Is that like Secret Santa? Or is that something different?
I think it's similar to Secret Santa, except if you're in a Secret Santa, you are paired. This is it's similar to a Secret Santa, except there is some randomness and kind of blind gift selection process. There's actually some game theory involved. I believe there are white elephant formats where you can take other people's gifts, but a gift can only be taken so many times. So like there's,
So there's late swap.
late swaps. Yeah, there's late steals, but at a certain after so many swaps, kind of the gift lock. So it's some game theory components to it.
Why is it called white elephant? What does the elephant have to do with anything?
Yeah, no idea. It's not a.
I'm just reading the copy and I'm like, what the hell's a white elephant competition? Am I missing out on something? Am I not upper class enough? Or this is what rich people do? They have they have elephants. They have white elephants that compete against one another.
Sure, if there's a class association attached to it, but I'm less familiar with the origins or whatever of this tradition.
But I you know what I can imagine if you're rich enough to own a white elephant, Manscaped is the only brand dedicated to below the waist grooming and hygiene products, even for elephants. If you want to use them for elephants. And great news, they just released their products across Europe, Canada, and Australia, where maybe it's more legal to own an elephant. I don't think you could own an elephant in the United States, but I guess if you're rich enough, you could do whatever you want. That's America for you, right? So if you want to stock your stuffings or stuff your stockings or whatever you want to do, you want to get little tchotchke gifts and pass them around to people, right? You get some Manscaped products. A few of the products are prime stocking stuffers this season. We know their names, right? I talk about this seemingly every other week on this show. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. The name speaks for itself, right? Even if you have a white elephant. Like if you're taking care of your white elephant, you're like, what's that smell? Maybe it's the elephant's balls. Maybe you need to put some deodorant on it, right? Don't give your white elephant as a gift without properly deodorizing their balls and your own balls. The Crop Reviver Ball Toner, which is a spray-on toner that will give your balls a little slice of heaven with your aloe vera and hazel extracts. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. A little slice of heaven? Toner, like that. Ball toner means that, like, to make them look good.
Yeah, I thought. Well, when you first said it, I thought a spray-on toner was like a spray tan toner.
That's what I thought. It was like. So why is that a little slice of heaven?
I don't know. The ingredients suggest that it is more around skin conditioning and epidermis kind of maintenance down there.
Oh, okay. To revive it.
Yeah, something.
Because I mean, if you don't use it enough, it gets decrepit, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you also need to get the Crop Cleanser Body Wash, a full body wash that you could also use on your hair. Crop Mop Ball Wipes. You never know when an opportunity strikes, so you should always be prepared. Have you ever gone out, Stewart, and been like, oh my God, I don't have my ball wipes? Like, am I just old? I'm 41 years old. I don't think even when I was younger, I was like, my balls are sweaty. Why did I bring my crop mop with me? Is that something the kids do? Did you go on Tinder dates and you have to bring your ball wipes?
That's not a thought I've had recently, but also haven't gone out a lot recently given the times. So maybe there is maybe
it says you never know when an opportunity strikes. So it's something that spontaneously happens out of nowhere, and then you realize you need ball wipes. Like I just can't imagine. Like, what is that situation?
I would guess that situation arises more if you're not in a committed relationship and you are, out about trying to kind of create your own opportunities,
I never, maybe that's why I didn't get as many dates as I should have, because my balls weren't properly prepared.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know either, right? See, I understand this. The Foot Duster foot deodorant designed to keep the stankiest feet smelling fresh. I get that. Okay, I get that. The Shears 2.0 luxury 4-piece nail kit. Okay, that makes sense to me. The Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer which provides proprietary skin-safe technology to get rid of those nasty nose hairs. See, okay, I get this. Okay, this is stuff that I can have around. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to have ball wipes in my pocket, but I mean, this stuff, okay, this makes sense. And let's not forget about the best trimmer for your butt, balls, and body, the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, which offers a replaceable ceramic blade with advanced skin-safe technology, which helps reduce grooming accidents. And these formulations are all vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, sulfate-free, and paraben-free. So you know your products are legit. See, like those products I get. Like I've never heard of ball wipes. Maybe I should try this out. Maybe I should ask my wife. Maybe the opportunity strikes. Maybe it's never struck in before. Maybe it's the type of thing where my wife for 10 years has always thought it's like, you know, I didn't want to bring it up because it's kind of embarrassing. But, you know, it'd be great if you got some ball wipes. And I'd be like, now I have a use for them. Okay, I get it. Or a ball toner. Just for the balls. Not for any other thing. It just amazes me.
Well, I mean,
products.
We're talking internals versus externals here. You know, it's like if your, you know, sexual persuasion is a car, you know, are you focused on kind of keeping the engine, you know, souping up the engine, or really, you know, good, you know, paint job and kind of, you know, spoilers and stuff, what have you. So,
yeah, but nothing for the steering wheel. How come everything's focused on the balls and not the main part? I want the gear shift. Well, we just don't care about the gear shift at all. We just care about what, the dashboard or whatever. No, how about the gear? I want something for the gear shift.
Gotcha. I mean, yeah, I consider that whole region kind of the engine that kind of makes that car go.
Because if they gave me products for the gear shift, maybe I don't even need my wife anymore. Right? Maybe that's maybe Manscaped has those. Maybe that's coming next. Hopefully that ad read ain't coming next week. But if you want 20% off and free shipping, you can use the code ROTO, ROTO, at manscaped.com. You know, thank you, Manscaped, for making our holes look sexy. So get 20% off and free shipping and use the code ROTO, ROTO, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code ROTO, ROTO. What are you waiting for? Go whack your weeds and make Santa proud. Because Santa will be proud of my balls. My wife won't be. Okay, you can't say that we don't try with the ad reads. Well, you know what I want to try in the next game, because now we're getting under 50 totals, so I want to kind of point out like games where it's like we have these lopsided games, kind of like we have the Rams, who are a 17-point favorite over the Jets, and we have the Ravens, who are a 13-point favorite over the Jaguars, and I also want to throw in the Cardinals, who have a 27.5 implied total. They're a 6.5-point favorite over the Eagles. So that's a 48.5 total. But two of these quarterbacks are not like the other. Like, obviously, Jared Goff is Jared Goff, okay? The Rams, Akers is going to be popular. But, I mean, I still think Woods and Kupp and Goff, I think that, you know, against the Jets, people are going to do that, even with a 44 implied total, because the Rams, you know, they have a high total. But Lamar and Kyler are both like rushing quarterbacks. And we've seen the past 2 weeks that Lamar Jackson is now rushing the ball more. And we've seen last week that apparently Kyler Murray is much more healthy now. So they're playing a lot more design runs for him. So on a slate where people may be like stacking up stuff, like what is your top stack probability say about like teams like the Ravens, the Cardinals, and the Rams in comparison to others?
Yeah, they're all up there. So they're all in the top 6. We have Rams as second most likely, score the most points, 12.3%. Baltimore third most likely, 12.1%. And then Arizona, 6th most likely, down at 7.6%. No, I'm right there with you with really the Baltimore and Arizona guys. You know, I think Jackson, while he does spread the ball around, like he has shown the ability to kind of generate points for himself at a rate that, really only Kyler Murray can do. I think even though running quarterbacks naked is not something I like to do, it's something you could consider with Baltimore. Although I still think I'd prefer to go even add Andrews or Snead or something like that. Given tight end position scarcity, why not throw Andrews on there? We saw Marquise Brown flourish in the absence of Snead, but also Andrews. If Marquise Brown is out, who's not to say that Andrews can flourish in the absence of Marquise Brown? Snead, I think, is also a reasonable candidate.
Especially we have it if Dobbins ownership starts coming up, and I'm not against playing James Robinson as I'm like, truthfully, this Ravens stack, like Jackson plus Andrews, I'm fine playing without any Jaguars. But if I were to play a Jaguar, I don't mind James Robinson. We saw this game, this Browns Ravens game, that 8 rushing touchdowns. I mean, they put up nearly 80 points, and it still was mostly rushing touchdowns. So even though Lamar his ceiling relies on rushing touchdowns, I still think James Robinson out of the backfield. I'm not scared of the Baltimore run defense much anymore.
They've been most attackable through the run. So, yeah, I mean, I just if J.K. Dobbins is going to be super high ownership, I mean, we saw it last week that, and yeah, he got there late, but with some of these guys who are kind of perceived lead backs in a, slightly better than committee, there are routes to them just, either that committee not being the same week over week as it, was the prior week, or, in the case of last week, I mean, for most of the game, it was looking like, Dobbins was going to brick out because Edwards got all kind of high value touches. And yeah, I mean, I think to me, it's a good spot for Jackson, and yeah, trying to pair up one of those Baltimore pass catchers. You can bring a Jacksonville guy back. You don't have to. I think, Jackson is one of these some quarterbacks, for them to kind of get to their ceiling, you need the opposition to kind of motivate them to throw. I think Russ Wilson is one of those guys, even though he does get some work done with his legs, still kind of feel like you need someone to push Seattle. I don't really feel that way with Jackson or Murray. Yeah. And I mean, Murray Hopkins to me just feels like a stack that just has a great ceiling. It would be one I'd want to skinny stack up. I don't want to play Hopkins and Kirk together. They so far this year haven't shown the ability to get there in the same game. You could go Kirk Murray, although I think Kirk is a bit of a dart throw play. What I'm interested in kind of y'all's ownership projection on Hopkins. To me, okay, so it's fairly high, but not preventatively high. Yeah, I mean, these are two games that I'm super interested in. I think quarterbacks with great ceilings. In the case of Hopkins, receiver with a great ceiling, good game total, or good team total rather.
And this is also one of the few weeks where I think I don't mind double tight end.
Okay.
I just to make it very explicit, Kelsey, treating him as a wide receiver, essentially. So, for instance, if I'm going to play Lamar Jackson plus Mark Andrews, I most likely will not exclude the fact that Kelsey could be in my flex, but he will be the only tight end that could appear. I'm not going to play Dallas Goedert and Mark Andrews in the same lineup. If they get there, great. Then I can't win. Okay, great. Whatever it is. But I think that on the Philadelphia side, I think Goddard is the best option there. I think Hurts is actually going to pick up ownership based on his results last week. But I much higher prefer Kyler Murray in this spot for 1,100 more. And then, I guess you could do the opposite way. You could do Hurts plus Goddard plus Hopkins. But it almost feels like if Hopkins gets there, Murray gets there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the one you just described will be probably higher ownership than Murray, Hopkins, some Philly guy.
You know what stack's going to be the lowest owned in comparison to what we've seen this year? The Seahawks.
Yeah.
They have a 25 implied total, but that game's 44.5 against the Washington team. I mean, from a ceiling perspective, I know a 25 implied total is not good, right? Especially for how expensive Seattle is. But you can't argue with the fact that Russell Wilson plus Lockett or Metcalf, like just from a true ceiling standpoint, if Seattle came out and scored 35 points and Metcalf had 3 touchdowns and Russell Wilson threw for 5 touchdowns, we're not sitting there like surprised or anything.
Yeah. So, but how do you justify kind of like, to me, Kansas City is similar in price and total. Like, what for you differentiates Kansas City from Seattle? Is it purely just an ownership thing?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be right. I mean, the same thing I said about the Chiefs, I'd say exactly about the Seahawks.
Yeah.
How do you pay these prices for a team that has a 25 implied total? How do you play the Chiefs prices with a 27.5 implied total when the Rams are cheaper, right? The Titans are cheap. Like the teams with higher totals are cheaper. The only difference is that like maybe Tyreek Hill and Kelsey maybe 10%. Tyreek Hill's 10% and Kelsey's 18 to 20% because he's the best tight end. But then you look down here and go, Metcalf, like Wilson could be 4% owned and Metcalf could be 5%. I mean, hey, do I want to play DK Metcalf at 8,600? No, but I mean, I'm never going to be shocked if he goes out and puts up 40 plus fantasy points. So, I mean, I at least have to consider it. And in comparison to the Chiefs, I think they're lower owned.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. And Seattle is a bit cheaper than, Kansas City. So it's not a super high difference, but I would say it's not negligible. So
with the Rams, everyone's going to be owned on the Rams. So, I mean, with golf stacks are going to be owned. Akers is going to be owned. How do you think the field is going to react? Because, I mean, we're getting to the point where teams have extremely high totals against the Jets, and then you try to run back a Jet and you lose. So, I mean, projections are going to I could tell you right now, Denzel Mims coming back is going to have a good projection. Rashad Perriman, crowd, like all these Jets, point per dollar wise, median wise, are going to have good projections. Is this finally the time to get off the Jets bring back bandwagon? Or do you think it's more likely the field tries to do that and maybe maybe one of the Jets actually has a good game?
I mean, damn, I definitely have some recency bias playing into my answer because I got torched playing, Russell Perriman, Russell Berrios type stacks last week. So my inclination, just kind of in response to that, is to not try to bring back any Jets.
But don't you get this feeling? It's week 15. Don't you get the feeling that a lot of people are going to think that?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think, Mims has been a guy that I've been playing a good bit of, until last week because he was obviously out, in cash and tournaments. And, I think he's been pretty solid. So he would probably be the guy I would want to target. He's just the cheapest, but maybe will be the most popular. I'm not sure, kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, he may not even be that popular. I mean, we have to realize that the Jets have a 13.5 implied total. So, but because I compare Mims at 3,500 to Gallup, because I think Gallup for the Cowboys, they only have a 21 implied total. But we say only 21. That's still 7.5 points more. That's a full touchdown more than the Jets. I just think that in Rams stacks, I think Mims will be present more often. But I think that playing an Akers plus Mims, Akers plus maybe Perriman. Perriman's 3,700. I think projections are gonna like Mims more.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of weird to say. Like I'm trying to say, how do we get leverage on Jets? And then in the back of my head, I'm like, Who cares? That none of them are ever going to score enough. Like, oh, everyone's going to play Mims, and I'm going to play Perriman, and then Mims gets 12, and Perriman gets 8, and like it didn't matter either way. Who cares? You shouldn't have rostered either of them.
Yeah. Well, I will say if you're going to try to stack up the Los Angeles passing side, which I think seems unlikely, and not saying something I want to do, but if you out there want to stack up the LA side, I think you have to have a jet. I mean, there's just with the way Los Angeles has run this year, like there's no, I just can't imagine Los Angeles pass catchers and pass throwers having a productive game if the Jets are doing nothing, right? Like,
yeah, but we've said this before when like the Jets secondary is horrific, and teams just come in there and go like, yeah, I know we could beat you, but we're going to beat you through the air because you're so even more susceptible in the air. Yeah, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't think McVay has Goff throwing 45 times in this game.
Yeah, the Rams haven't been a team that have, at least so far this year, have wanted to do that. I don't know. I haven't spent that much time thinking about the Jets side. I've really more been trying to think about the Los Angeles running backs. Like I said at the beginning of the show, like if Akers gets the usage that he's had in the past 2 weeks against the Jets with that total, like obviously a fine play. Like, so, I mean, do we think Akers is locked into like a, 70 to 80% rush share role? Like,
I don't think he's locked in, but I don't think that there's anything that I could do about it other than fade him. Like, I don't think it's the type of situation where, Akers fails and then I take another running back. To me, it's more the fact that they run more of a committee and no one gets there. Like, it's not the type of thing where, well, should I take a shot at Darrell Henderson or Malcolm Brown? It's like, no, it's more of the fact that they eat enough of Akers' production that Akers at 6,600 just has 14 rushes for 55 yards, 1 catch for 8 and no touchdowns. And you're just sitting there going like, okay, I got like 10 points and that didn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, Malcolm Brown is like straight 0 right now for Los Angeles. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's more likely that Cam Akers is the bell cow than he's not.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, yes, I agree. I think that is more likely, but is it 80% likely? If so, then probably play a lot of Akers. But if it's, 60% likely, yeah, I don't know. This game kind of stumps me. It's like I don't really love any components of it, but like the total would suggest that I should. I feel like, I gotta pick some, one of the Rams, right?
I think you could do a rule of just one of 3, Cup, Woods, Akers, and just if you're making 100 lineups, you have 33% in everyone, and just someone's getting there.
Yeah.
Just make sure you don't have as a lot of the Jets. That never works out.
And it's tough because like Cup and Woods are priced pretty high, so it's like, they could steal usage from Akers. Woods could get a gadget, 10-yard touchdown run kind of thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean he smashes, right? Like at 6'8", he could, put up 15 points, and Cup could put up 15 and kind of eat out of Akers, eat off Akers' plate. I don't know.
Is there any other games that you could see that have stacking proponents that?
I mean, the vomit stack I've kind of tabbed is San Francisco, Dallas, going like Mullins, Ayuk, and then Gallup or Cooper, something like that. We're talking low totals here, but we're talking, and somewhat like limited ceilings on like Mullins.
Like I'd much rather have that as a secondary, like without the quarterback.
Sure. I like Ayuk, Gallup. Yeah. That I think, or Jeff Wilson, Gallup, something like that. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I'm kind of just looking through some of these bottom teams that are just showing, decent price points relative to their total, and San Francisco was kind of the one I was looking at. But
well, now that you're back in the groove, I know you're a little bit behind. You'll send out an update via your Substack, right?
Yeah, I'll have something out tomorrow. also prepping for NBA, which is, taking some time, away from weekly NFL prep, but, I'm super excited for that. Been trying this NFL season to do some reading on just some different modeling practices that I'm hoping to incorporate into NBA. So excited for that and kind of see how that plays out. Trying to kind of retool some of our NBA stuff. But yeah, we should have NBA content ready to go for Tuesday. Should be fun. I think this is fun time of year. I really like the January. I do really enjoy kind of the short classic slates that you get in the first couple weeks of playoffs where you have five. You don't like those?
No, because you get into duplication problems in large field.
Yeah, duplication. Yeah, I get that. I guess what I enjoy about the short slate stuff is when you are selecting players, you are you're building lineups around players that you roster, but also building, and I guess you do it to an extent in class, in full slate context where you're building lineups away from players that you don't like. I know you're always doing that, but you kind of need to fill players from games that you don't like. And I think there's an interesting exercise of trying to find the players in games that you don't like, or maybe players that negatively correlate from, or negatively correlate with quarterbacks that you don't like, or, running backs that you don't like. I guess we do that in the main, in kind of the full 11 games.
Yeah, you do. It just, I just view it from a perspective that the more choices you give me, the more edge I would have, because it's more places for people to get things wrong.
Yeah.
Right. We have the Saturday slate coming up. It's a 2-game slate. It's how much wrong can you really get? The lineups overlap is going to be ridiculous no matter what. Even if you didn't know anything about football and just close your eyes and click buttons, you're going to probably have half the lineup that I have regardless. So to me, the edge isn't there. The edge in those large field contests for those are in not being duped, as many times, super stacking and doing some weird stuff, negatively correlating players because no one's going to play 2 running backs from the same team together. That's more game theory oriented, but it doesn't give you as much of an edge when, imagine this slate. If you could, okay, you could pick up 1 of 3 tight ends. Do you want Travis Kelce or you do not want him? It's it's kind of but what edge is that? How much edge can there be when half the lineups look the same?
That makes sense. That's probably why I'm the donk that I am. So, but yeah. Anyways, looking forward to NBA stuff on ASA. I think it's gonna be a fun winter for us. We're gonna try to build out some new tools for the season and really deploy some. I think what I consider to be some kind of different prediction processes. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that. You can find that at advancedsportsanalytics.com. You can follow them, AS Analytics DFS on Twitter, or Start Gibson on Twitter. I'm at BlenderHD, as always. I'm Jordan Cooper with Stewart Gibson, and that was the Advanced Sports Analytics Show here on Rotogrinders.com.